Yeah, it's Joe Lopez, Aero Security and Training, LLC. Started out in 2005, officially after a return from Afghanistan, and there was a huge need for ex-Special Forces guys to train the folks deploying over to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Okay.
There's different types of training that we blend in different soft skills into for to achieve pretty much whatever training goals that, most of the guys that were deploying. And then I stopped doing that in about 2007, went over to was a team starting over there in Hungary, where they were starting up an international Special Forces qualification course for the NATO allies, especially the ex-Warsaw Pact guys. Yeah. So that was in Hungary for 2 years doing that. And then when I got back, just as I got back in 2009, beginning in 2009, we won our first contract, and that was with Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection. Okay. And we started out providing role players for their agents that were going through school, and our role players would pretend that they were seeking asylum or things like that. But kind of a critical thing to have, humans in there to be able to interview as opposed to, just being evaluated. So, and that kind of led to another contract with Customs and Border Patrol, the K-9 school at Front Royal, Virginia. Mm-hmm. They need role players as well for their dogs. Need to go through a number of folks before they have, whatever target they're after. So, for example, if you were going to place drugs on somebody or money or explosives, the dogs need to go through like about 20 different folks before they find the individual. Otherwise, it's not a really good test of their skills. Okay. And the dogs and the handlers are getting trained at these schools too. So, and then from there we moved into language immersion. And we do language immersion worldwide: Russia, China, South America, Southeast Asia for the Air Force. So the Air Force attaches going through school get to go into, they get turned over to us, we turn them over to our host nation families that they live with, kind of like a foreign exchange student. Yep. Okay. And then they live there and they go through language school in country, plus do all the cultural things.
That's really cool.
So, we're doing that. Right now, we've got a number of interpreters in Iraq right now, and that number seems to be growing. And we have a contract with the National Guard Bureau to provide joint level training specialists to go to each state and territory that has a National Guard presence and advise them on training and how to register their training and how to forecast their training. And along with that, we also provide a desktop staff trainer, computerized desktop staff trainer for each joint level state operation to actually go through a disaster as a CPX, which is like a desktop staff training. And that way they don't have to actually, put the scenarios together and things like that. So anything from hurricanes to tornadoes to earthquakes and things like that, they actually go through and, play their roles.
That would have been good a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And then we won a contract called SWIMS, which is SOCOM-wide mission support. So, and along with that, we won the final portion of the MARSOC school. Marine Special Operations Command has a school to train all their guys. It's modeled after the Army Special Forces school. And there's a bunch of ex-Army SF guys in there helping them train up because they want to stick with the same doctrine, the same mission set. So we won their final exercise, which is called During a Bridge. So we provide all the role players, we provide the weapons, we provide all the equipment, and a number of other things out there.
Well, your company sounds like it does a whole lot. And it's,
Yeah, we do
it's pretty cool.
do quite a bit.
Yeah, that's always the stuff that I had fun doing in the military, was being in your op four and stuff. And
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. I found that interesting. Now, do you handle just military contracts? Do you do civilian work, or is it kind of just?
Well, there's not really much call for, the kind of skills that we have right now, except for in the software arena, we're starting to develop little solutions to problems, especially in EMS and, when it works with the National Guard. So those things have civilian applications. Some of the military stuff does, believe it or not. For example, when we do pre-deployment training for the guys going to the sandbox, a lot of those skills are useful to civilians who are traveling overseas for their companies. So we're working on that. Working on a couple projects with different colleges for active shooter training.
Okay.
And what to do when there's an active shooter on their campus. And we do and have been doing quite a few big disaster exercises with the National Guard. The National Guard will have a multi-state exercise, and they'll simulate a earthquake, tornado, swarm, whatever. And that way they get to exercise all their personnel and equipment. And when you do that, you need role players.
Yeah.
So, and you also need them all to be made up with their specific injuries that they want to deal with and things like that. So we got kind of movie quality moulage, it's called. Kind of movie quality moulage that we apply to upwards of 150 to 200 folks. And then we train them and coach them and tell them how to react based on what the Guard wants to see. Mm-hmm. And then we also provide the role players that are simulating the incident command system as well. Mm-hmm. So we do quite a bit of that. We just did the moulage for a exercise they were running up here at Manchester Airport. That's the first and only job we had.
Okay. This sounds really cool. I like what your company does, and I always enjoyed the playing part of op four and stuff. They always made us do it just because of budget cuts and stuff.
It sounds like we do a lot of role player stuff, and we do, but those are short-term little things. Most of the long-term stuff that we're doing right now is pretty kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It's not really anything you could pin down as like we are this kind of company or that kind of company.
Yeah.
We've got a number of different capabilities, and as we gather different talent and things like that, we, different personnel with expertise, we acquire their skills and we move on along those business paths.
Okay, so you're very adaptive as far as your company
absolutely.
goes.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So kind of each employee kind of helps you pull
Right.
the company in different directions. Oh, it's unique. I haven't heard that a lot of times.
Well, we do two things I think that's different than the other companies. First of all, we take care of the customer,
Mm-hmm.
and that's rule one. We've lost money on a number of government contracts because in order to get the work, you had to low bid it,
Yeah.
but you cannot lower the quality.
Yeah.
So because your reputation carries down the road, and sometimes we'll lose money, sometimes we won't, but we will always do a great job, and I'm not afraid to, make sure that job is good. And then the next thing is you take care of your employees.
Yeah.
And if your employees are all happy, they're not working against you. They're not, they're not, dragging their feet and things like that. They're enthusiastic. So take care of those two things, and you're pretty much set up for success. Well, when I went to Afghanistan, it was early on. It was in 2002, in about April, May timeframe. We got over there, and it truly is an unconventional warfare theater. It still is. And when we got there, anyone else outside of the conventional side had no idea what was going on. And it was kind of shocking, actually. To the point to where they were afraid of Soviet weapons. When I got back from Afghanistan, while I was over there, we noticed that most of the conventional troops over there are nothing against them, but they'd been trained for Cold War. And the institutional threat was, anything Russian, anything, Chi-Com and all that. So when the guys got over there, anytime they saw an AK or any type of Russian weapon, they assumed it was a bad guy, which was not the case.
Yeah.
Same thing with the equipment and, other things like that. So they didn't know anything about the weapons of not only our friends, but our enemies. And because we weren't training on them back here. And so that's one of the first things we did was we acquired a bunch of Russian weapons so we can go around and train the guys going overseas, because the military wasn't set up to do that. They didn't have the ammo in the system, and since we could buy it commercially,
Yeah.
we can actually use it on range as opposed to getting it through, the ammo depot, and you got to go through all the OSHA crap. And so that and a number of other skills, like nobody knew how to use an interpreter.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what an interpreter was supposed to be used for or how it was supposed to be used. Nobody to this day still knows anything about Islam.
Yeah.
So, those are the type of skills we're teaching out there. And those are what the conventional forces were lacking. So we were in quite a big demand for a while. And then as time went on and we started drawing down the need for, as soon as money gets tight and as soon as everything starts lowering, they cut out all the good training.
Training.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like trying to help your brothers out kind of thing too. The military's about to send those guys over there without these skills, and by damn, I was gonna make sure they at least, as far as I could provide them, give it to them. So.